Before the lockdown in Thailand, I had a chance to visit two provinces, Krabi and Tak, exploring new spots down south and finding solace out in the northwest. Now, Corona lockdown is a huge bummer, and not being able to herp in the proper jungle, anywho, let's take a look at some of my favorite encounters and reminisce. Starting out with the rarest snake I ever spotted up in northwestern Thailand, this Stolitska smooth snake. Feel free to hit me for butchering any names. This snake has a diet of invertebrates only, and not much is known about the habits of this snake, other than its relatives prefer to feed on spiders over other soft-bodied invertebrates, in which it hunts among the leaf litter. I found this extremely relaxed snake crossing my path while I wasn't even herping, and he wasn't too shy and hung around for a while before disappearing into the foliage. They're a small species, getting to only about 60 centimeters long, not as bright or as colorful as some of the other snakes you're about to see, but it stood out to me. Just an interesting little snake that defies all fears and myths that people have about snakes. Now, this smooth snake gave off the impression of a bronzeback that adapted for the forest floor. Instead of eating lizards and frogs, it prefers something crunchier, with extra limbs. Get a load of this baby elegant bronzeback down in Krabi, and you can tell why they have that name. It looks extremely fragile. Or this striped bronzeback. Mesmerizing lines going down the body which change from a dull gray and brown to a bright orange and yellow. Bronzebacks are very aware of their surroundings and are usually very flighty. They can disappear into the bushes in a blink of an eye. But this one was, of course, magically cooperative and stayed for some pictures before I released him into the trees. Down in the south of Thailand lies some of the most breathtaking landscapes and tropical rainforests. Of most of those pristine areas, there is a very unique pit viper that spends most of its life high in the trees. The Wraiths Pit Viper, one example of extreme sexual dimorphism in snakes, in which the females will grow over 10 times larger than the males, while also going through a color-changing period once they reach a year or two of age. This individual is a younger male. The main differences are the lack of stripes in the males. Right when they're born, the males will have a pattern composed of dots, and dots alone, whereas the females will have dots and a mix of stripes. Even if it's barely a dot, if it's barely stripes, it's a female. And the more they grow, the female starts to look something like this. They gradually change color over the course of every shed. New black and gold pigments will emerge. These nocturnal snakes feed on frogs, small rodents, lizards, birds, and bats. With the element of surprise, they sit in ambush from the shadows, with potent neurotoxin to quickly subdue their prey. This wild male was a bit wary of me at first, but became more comfortable with his new surroundings over time. I'm always happy to find a Wraiths Pit Viper. Heck, they're always one of my target species if I'm ever down south. They're easily one of the most beautiful and variable of the green snakes in Thailand. Now further inland in Krabi lies little pocket habitats, where you can come across these Siamese Peninsula pit vipers, if you're lucky. The species taxonomy has been switched up many times, but currently it stands as Trimeresurus sabahi, for some reason. An epic range extension. All that aside, it is a gorgeous pit viper, especially the males. Now, this one is a juvenile female, spotted crawling down the rocks near a stream. Like other pit vipers, they're ambush hunters, and this species is equipped with flesh-dissolving hemotoxins. She was not too defensive, but not keen on me getting too close. So, respecting her wishes to be left alone, it was time to move onward to the next contender for the prettiest of green snakes, which was easily this male Pope's Pit Viper from the mountains of northwestern Thailand. Now, I've showcased quite a few of them before on this channel, and if you don't count the captive one I keep, which is a male, all I've ever shown were the females I found while herping. Now, they inhabit the mountainous rainforests of western Thailand all the way up to the coldest peaks of the north. This breathtaking individual was found right above a small flowing stream. And unlike most members of the Trimeresurus genus, these snakes are equipped with neurotoxins instead of hemotoxins. Once they strike their prey, a surge of destruction overtakes their nervous system, shutting down any means to fight back or escape or breathe. Thankfully, he did not see me as a threat or a meal. It was a cool night, so my best guess would be he associated me with some of the branches, and I just had to be still like one. Now, this dangerous method of handling has very little room for error. Deep in the jungles here, one mistake could very well be your last. Of course, this goes without saying. After a brief session, I let him go on his way. I just can't help but admire these animals from a very, very close distance. And this goes to show that snakes are not out in the wild waiting patiently for some clueless person to bite. I assure you, they want nothing to do with us. Too hot to handle? Not to worry. There's another snake that's just as beautiful, and not to mention, way less toxic. Or so we think. The green cat snake is a rear-fanged, venomous colubrid, having to chew and repeatedly bite to get their venom in. Many of the Boiga genus possess extremely potent neurotoxins. The delivery system is so poor, no offense, that tiny amounts are secreted. This amount then gets mixed in with their saliva before finally entering the bloodstream. So even though envenomations in humans usually ends in local pain, swelling, and nausea, there are some extreme cases where you should head to the hospital if you don't want to black out, throw up, and have horrible headaches and swelling. And that's from tiny amounts. Their venom is also not designed to put down mammals. Studies have shown that their venom is extremely effective against birds and other reptiles. I've personally seen Boiga prey on other snakes, and the rate in which they put down those other snakes is pretty surprising. Cat snakes have a varied diet, preferably taking on birds, bird eggs, reptiles including other snakes, and sometimes amphibians, but will take rodents if the opportunity presents itself. This gentle snake was most likely out for a drink, and was best left to continue his journey. Though native through most regions in Thailand, it's always a blessing to come across one. This brings us to another cat snake. This one, native to southern Thailand, with a range that extends throughout Malaysia, Indonesia, and the Philippines. The beautiful dog-toothed cat snake, one of my favorites from this genus, due to their extremely large teeth, yet calm and docile demeanor. Many give off the impression of patients in an amnesia ward. They just don't seem to have a clue on what's going on around them and end up looking like goofballs. The snakes, not the actual patients. This adult was, of course, exceptionally at ease. However, this encounter was much more saddening compared to the others I found. Not only does he have a bright pattern and personality, he also has an infected eye, one I can't do anything for. Unsure just how bad this case is, there's nothing to do but wish him the best and let nature take its course. Most snakes are resilient. One blind eye isn't going to halt its ability to adapt out here. all that much. Yeah, it's often wild out there. Correction, it is wild out there. What did you expect? Fairy creatures and every animal coming together, bursting out in song and dance? Well, whatever you're on, I want some too. 'Cause once you step outside, you become game. Talking about one with nature, yeah, you let those mosquitoes and leeches find you, then they'll give you that full one with nature experience. Sorry, don't get me wrong, nature is brilliant, providing us with magnificent views, incredibly beautiful intricate animals, some you can't even begin to understand. Check out this large banded hawk moth caterpillar. It's otherworldly in appearance, nothing like the rest of its genus. And we know it's a false eye up there because we can see the two compound eyes down at the front. It's also the only shell-like part on this animal. All we know is it relies on this appearance to scare away potential predators. And I'm assuming that it works quite well. Now back to what I was on about. Nature's quite a character. Sometimes you don't know what to feel. Oftentimes it's peaceful. But the more you look, you see its different layers. Then it's a matter of perspective. How you look into this order of anarchy. Some animals you can't help but relate to because you see their struggles and you empathize. We humans try to build a wall that separates us from this cycle. 'Cause let's face it, it's a bit frightening at times, yet it is the natural way of things. Life and death at a balance. Things are here for a moment and gone the next. That's just how it goes, and we're all a part of that. And it is absolutely beautiful.